What if the very environment that's universally prescribed to heal your body is secretly acting like a chemical weapon against your skin?
Yeah, it sounds extreme, but it's a reality for a lot of people.
Right, because for anyone managing a chronic inflammatory condition like vulval lichen sclerosus or LS, this isn't just hypothetical.
No, not at all.
Swimming is supposed to be this, ultimate low-impact, joint-friendly exercise. But for a lot of you listening, that relaxing trip to the pool has become just a massive source of anxiety.
Completely understandable, too. I mean, you are essentially submerging highly compromised tissue into a vat of harsh alkaline chemicals.
Exactly. And today, we're taking a stack of medical guidelines, dermatology papers, and patient protocols to figure out how to actually neutralize that threat.
It's all about preparation.
Right. Our mission for this deep dive is to give you a definitive, step-by-step biological shield. We're focusing heavily on exactly how to protect and prep delicate LS skin before you even look at a swimming pool.
Because having LS really shouldn't dictate whether or not you get to jump in the water.
It really shouldn't. Okay, let's unpack this.
We really have to look at the mechanics of the environment versus, the mechanics of the disease.
Right.
Because the medical advice we're analyzing presents this really deep contradiction. You have doctors highly recommending swimming for LS patients.
And constantly recommending it.
Exactly, while simultaneously warning that pool water can trigger severe flare-ups.
It's the paradox of the pool. And to be fair, I get why dermatologists push swimming.
Oh, absolutely.
When you look at alternative exercises, things like cycling, horseback riding, or even just high-impact running in tight athletic wear, you are introducing a massive amount of direct, repetitive friction to the pelvic area.
Which is the worst thing you can do for LS.
Right. But swimming practically eliminates that. You're buoyant, so the mechanical pressure on the vulva is drastically reduced.
But the trade-off is the water itself.
Yes.
It's the chemistry of the water. Human skin naturally has an acidic mantle, right? Its pH hovers around 5.5.
Which is pretty acidic.
Yeah, and that's crucial for maintaining the skin barrier and keeping the local microbiome balanced. But swimming pools, they are heavily chlorinated and chemically treated to remain alkaline.
Usually around a pH of 7.4 to 7.8, right?
Exactly, to prevent bacterial growth. When you submerge healthy skin into that environment, it's drying, but the barrier holds.
The brick wall stays intact.
Right. But when you submerge skin affected by lichen sclerosus, it's a completely different story.
Because with LS, the skin barrier is already structurally compromised. It thins out, it loses its elasticity, and it's highly prone to microscopic fissuring.
It's literally physically broken.
Yeah, we aren't just talking about dry skin here. We are talking about a broken wall. If you think of healthy skin as a solid brick wall, LS skin is missing chunks of mortar.
That's a really good way to picture it.
So taking that broken wall and submerging it in an alkaline chlorinated pool is essentially letting acidic floodwaters seep directly into the foundation.
That's a much more accurate way to visualize it than just assuming, the chlorine stings. The chemical irritants bypass the outer defenses completely.
They just go right in.
Yeah, they seep directly into the vulnerable dermis. Because chlorine is a powerful oxidizing agent. Its job in the pool is to break down the cell walls of bacteria.
Which is great for the pool water.
Right, but terrible for you. When it gets into the microfissures of LS skin, it begins stripping away the already depleted lipid layers.
Oh, wow.
And that causes acute oxidative stress to the tissue. That stress doesn't just cause temporary stinging, it triggers a whole cascade of immune responses.
Which leads us straight to the Koebner response.
Yes, exactly.
This concept kept coming up in the clinical literature, and I think it fundamentally changes how we view skin trauma. It's not just that the chlorine hurts in the moment.
No, it's way deeper than that.
The Koebner phenomenon dictates that any mechanical trauma or severe chemical irritation actually summons the underlying autoimmune disease to flare up in that exact spot.
Isomorphic provocation is the technical term for it.
Right.
The immune system is already misfiring in a patient with LS. So when the pool chemicals attack those compromised tissues, the body detects the damage.
And it tries to fix it.
It tries. It mounts a localized inflammatory response. But because of the underlying disease process, that inflammation doesn't just heal the damage.
It actually makes it worse.
It actively synthesizes new LS lesions or aggressively worsens existing ones. The chemical irritation literally breeds more disease activity.
So it's a physiological feedback loop. The disease weakens the skin, the pool chemicals attack the weakness, and the resulting trauma tells the body to create more disease.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle.
Looking at that biological reality, I have to push back a bit on the medical consensus here. If the oxidative stress and the risk of the Koebner response are this severe, why shouldn't someone with LS just stay out of the pool entirely?
It's a fair question.
Like, it's squeezing a lemon over a paper cut. The risks seem to vastly outweigh the buoyancy benefits.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, total avoidance creates a different and arguably more dangerous set of cascading health failures.
How so?
Well, the clinical guidelines strongly advocate against a sedentary lifestyle. If you stop swimming, you lose cardiovascular conditioning, muscle tone.
And you negatively impact metabolic health.
Exactly. And beyond the physical, there is a profound psychological component.
The emotional toll of chronic pain.
Right. The chronic pain and management of LS already take a massive emotional toll. If patients begin isolating themselves, abandoning activities they love,
Like skipping trips to the local pool or the beach.
yeah, the rates of secondary depression and anxiety just skyrocket.
So retreating is a trap. The objective isn't to run away from the pool,
No, the objective is to biologically engineer a safe interaction with it.
which means we have to address the core vulnerability, right? The missing mortar in that brick wall.
Precisely.
If the skin's natural lipid barrier is down, the only logical countermeasure is to construct an artificial one before you ever step onto the pool deck.
And this is why the pre-swim protocol is the absolute anchor of every medical source we reviewed. You cannot just jump in and hope for the best.
You have to aggressively pre-treat the area.
The mandate across the board is applying a dense, highly viscous barrier ointment to the vulval area before putting on a swimsuit.
I really want to spend some time dissecting this pre-swim armor, because this is the primary focus of our deep dive today.
It's the most critical step.
I think the instinct for a lot of people dealing with dry or irritated skin is to reach for a standard humectant moisturizer, something that draws water into the skin.
Which is what you normally do, yeah.
But based on the chemistry we just discussed, putting a water-based hydrating lotion on before getting into a pool seems like exactly the wrong move.
It is the exact opposite of what you want to achieve.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Standard daily moisturizers are formulated as oil and water emulsions. They are designed to absorb rapidly, deliver water to the stratum corneum, and evaporate. If you apply a standard lotion and get into a pool, that product will instantly dissolve and wash away. It leaves the skin completely defenseless against the alkaline water.
That makes total sense.
Furthermore, those commercial lotions are packed with synthetic fragrances, alcohols, and preservatives like parabens.
Which, going back to our broken wall analogy, means you are driving volatile compounds directly into compromised tissue.
Right into the microfissures.
So those fragrances act as allergens and severe irritants. That could trigger contact dermatitis on top of the LS.
Precisely. You do not want a product that absorbs. You need a purely occlusive product. Meaning you are looking for something completely hydrophobic. It has to violently repel water. We are talking about heavy, greasy, unperfumed ointments.
Like what, specifically?
The clinical recommendations specifically point to yellow soft paraffin, which is the medical term for Vaseline, or heavy compound emollients like hydromol, dermol.
Or specialized botanical lipid blends like Dermdix. It's pure fluid dynamics, really. You are pasting a layer of heavy oil over the skin so that the chlorinated water literally beads up and rolls off.
It never makes contact with the acidic mantle.
But it's not just about the chemical barrier, is it? Because reading through the sports medicine overlap in these sources, applying a thick layer of paraffin before a swim also serves a crucial mechanical function regarding the swimsuit itself.
This raises an important question about hidden friction. Even though swimming is fundamentally low impact, you're still moving your legs repetitively.
Right, you're kicking.
Every time you kick, the gusset of your swimsuit, which is usually made of synthetic, tightly woven spandex or nylon, shifts slightly against the vulva.
And in a healthy person, that microfriction is totally negligible.
Barely noticeable. But in an LS patient, repetitive microfriction on wet, compromised tissue is a primary trigger for the Koebner response we talked about.
Ah, so the heavy ointment acts as an industrial lubricant.
Yes, exactly.
It allows the synthetic fabric of the bathing suit to glide over the skin, rather than gripping and shearing those delicate epidermal layers.
You are neutralizing the chemical threat of the chlorine and the mechanical threat of the spandex simultaneously.
It is a dual-action shield,
Yeah.
and the clinical literature is emphatic that it must be applied generously, right?
Oh, absolutely. A thin film isn't enough. It requires a thick, visible layer to ensure the mechanical glide and the hydrophobic seal remain intact for the duration of a 20 or 30-minute swim.
There is a detail in the pediatric guidelines from the Lichen Sclerosus Association that I think perfectly encapsulates how essential this pre-swim step is.
Oh, the quote from Julie.
Yes. They feature a quote from a young girl named Julie, who has pediatric LS, and she outlines her own routine. She says, before going into a swimming pool, I cream with a thick layer of Vaseline chloride water is not good for my skin.
I love that quote.
I found that so compelling because it demystifies the medical jargon completely. If a child can grasp the physics of why this hydrophobic barrier is non-negotiable, it proves that this isn't some complex clinical procedure.
No, it's just a foundational, everyday habit for survival in this environment.
And it highlights a crucial mindset shift. You aren't just reacting to symptoms, you are proactively engineering your environment.
However, as effective as that heavy barrier is while you are submerged, the physical properties of the ointment mean it will eventually degrade.
It won't last forever.
Right, which brings a massive sense of urgency to the moment you finish your swim.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the narrative completely flips the second you climb out of the pool. The armor you built to protect yourself in the water suddenly becomes part of a ticking clock.
You're on borrowed time.
The sources transition from shielding mode to an incredibly strict, almost frantic recovery protocol. The absolute, non-negotiable first rule they all list. You must change out of your wet swimwear immediately.
Yes, immediately.
Do not drive home in it. Do not sit on a towel by the pool in it. Get it off.
The clinical guidelines treat a wet swimsuit post-swim as a massive dermatological hazard for LS. Sitting in damp synthetic sports gear initiates a rapid biological process called maceration.
I want to break down maceration because it's a term that gets thrown around in wound care, but it's critical here. This isn't just your skin getting a little soft.
No, it's cellular breakdown.
What is actually happening to the cellular structure when skin stays wet and trapped for too long?
Maceration occurs when the keratinocytes, those are the cells that make up the outer layer of your skin, become superhydrated.
Okay.
They absorb excess water, swell up, and essentially lose their structural integrity. The desmosomes, which are the protein structures anchoring the cells together, begin to break down.
That sounds intense.
You can visualize it like a piece of cardboard left out in the rain. It becomes incredibly weak, mushy, and it tears apart with the slightest touch.
So you have a patient whose skin is already structurally fragile due to the lichen sclerosus. They sit in the wet swimsuit, and the maceration rapidly dissolves whatever structural integrity was left.
Exactly.
But it gets worse, because we aren't just talking about pure water.
What's fascinating here is how the post-swim environment creates the perfect storm for severe tissue damage. Let's layer the variables.
Okay, let's hear it.
First, you have the maceration rapidly weakening the cellular anchors. Second, that water trapped against the skin is alkaline pool water.
Meaning the chlorine is aggressively oxidizing the tissue while it softens.
Right. And the third variable is the mechanical shear. You are wearing a tight, elastic swimsuit, probably walking to the car, shifting in the driver's seat. You are aggressively grinding synthetic fabric infused with alkaline chemical irritants directly into superhydrated, structurally failing tissue.
It is the ultimate recipe for a catastrophic Kogner response. The sheer amount of inflammatory signaling that combination generates will almost guarantee an aggressive flare-up of the LS.
This is exactly why the guidelines are so draconian about removing wet gear immediately. You have to halt the maceration and get the chemical irritants away from the skin before the damage becomes irreversible.
Which brings us to the shower. The suit is off, but the skin is still coated in a mixture of degraded barrier ointment, pool water, and sweat.
It's a mess.
The immediate instinct is to scrub it all off with soap, but the sources throw up massive red flags here.
Huge red flags.
You need a shower immediately, but the protocol strictly forbids regular shower gels, bubble baths, or standard bar soaps.
We have to return to the concept of the skin's acidic mantle here. Standard commercial soaps are highly alkaline.
Right.
They rely on strong surfactants. Those are chemicals designed to bind to oil and water simultaneously so that the dirt and grease can be rinsed down the drain.
But that's a bad thing here.
If you use a standard surfactant on LS-affected skin, it doesn't just remove the pool chemicals. It ruthlessly strips away the skin's natural lipid barrier, which is already desperately depleted.
So you are basically finishing the destructive job that the chlorine started.
Exactly. You're doing the chlorine's work for it.
And There is a highly specific warning in the dermatology guidelines about hair washing that perfectly illustrates how dangerous these surfactants are.
Oh, the shampoo runoff.
Yes. They explicitly state that if you wash your hair after a swim, you must not allow the shampoo runoff to cascade down your body and contact the vulva.
Shampoos are formulated with some of the most aggressive surfactants available, typically sodium lauryl sulfate or similar compounds, because hair holds on to a lot of sebum and environmental dirt.
So it's super strong.
Very strong. If that highly concentrated, soapy runoff flows over the vulval area, it will decimate the remaining epidermal lipids.
That is terrifying.
The clinical advice is to either avoid washing your hair entirely at the pool or to wash it while leaning heavily forward so the runoff goes straight down the drain without touching the rest of the body.
It really emphasizes how defensive you have to be. So if surfactants are the enemy, how are you actually supposed to get the chlorine and the old heavy barrier ointment off your skin?
You utilize soap substitutes, which operate on a completely different chemical principle.
Okay, like what?
You use the exact same heavy emollients we discussed earlier, E45, dermal, or emulsifying ointments.
Wait, you wash with the ointment?
Yes. Instead of creating a lather that strips the skin, these lipid-rich creams gently emulsify the surface debris. They bind to the chlorine and the old ointment, allowing you to lift them away with warm water while simultaneously depositing a fresh layer of hydrating lipids.
It cleans by dissolving, not by stripping.
Precisely.
So you rinse off the chemicals using an emollient, and now we arrive at the drying phase, which seems to be another massive friction trap.
You ever believe that?
You have clean, wet skin. Grabbing a standard terry cloth gym towel and vigorously rubbing yourself dry is completely out of the question.
Mechanical shear stress. Even though the skin is clean, it is still extremely vulnerable. Vigorously rubbing a towel across the vulva introduces massive friction, which, as we know, signals the Koebner response.
So what's the alternative?
You must pat or dab the skin very gently.
While dabbing is better, my absolute favorite piece of advice from the clinical guides, and I think it's just a brilliant hack for anyone with severe sensory or inflammatory skin issues, is the hairdryer technique.
It is an incredibly elegant solution to the friction problem.
You use a hairdryer, held at a safe distance, explicitly set to the cool setting. You let the forced air evaporate the moisture completely.
It's fantastic.
It is a 100% touchless drying system. You avoid the mechanical shear of the towel entirely. And I imagine the cool setting is critical here because blasting hot air onto an inflammatory skin condition seems like a terrible idea.
Oh, heat induces vasodilation. It expands the blood vessels, drawing more blood to the surface, which exacerbates swelling, redness, and itching.
Not what you want.
Not at all. Heat also triggers sweat glands, introducing a new source of moisture and salt directly back onto the skin you just painstakingly cleaned.
So the cool air is essential.
Yes. The cool air ensures rapid evaporation without triggering any secondary inflammatory cascades.
So your skin is now completely clean of chlorine, free of sweat, and entirely dry without a single thread of fabric having rubbed against it. We're at the final stage of the protocol.
The restoration phase.
Right.
The pre-swim barrier you applied hours ago has done its job and been washed away. The final step before you get dressed is to reestablish the baseline protection.
So you do it all over again.
You must reapply a fresh layer of your emollient or barrier cream.
Because even though you survived the pool, you still have to put clothes on and go about the rest of your day. That final layer locks in whatever moisture the skin retained.
And provides a soothing effect for any micro-irritation that might have occurred.
Right, and it protects the skin from the friction of your everyday underwear.
It really completes the life cycle of the protocol. You construct the armor, you execute the exposure, you neutralize the chemical remnants, and you restore the barrier.
When we break down the molecular physics of the lipid layers and the pH values of the water and the biology of the immune response, it sounds like preparing for a spacewalk.
It really does sound intense when you zoom in on it.
But when you look at it practically, it's just a highly specific locker room routine. It literally just means keeping a dedicated jar of Vaseline or Hydromol in your gym bag, showering with an emollient instead of soap, and drying off with intention.
And the return on investment for that routine is immeasurable. It allows patients to reclaim their mobility and their fitness.
That's huge.
Managing vulval lichen sclerosus is largely about risk mitigation. By understanding exactly how the water threatens the skin's structural integrity, you can systematically neutralize those threats.
You don't have to surrender the activity that brings you joy. By applying that heavy hydrophobic ointment shield before you ever touch the water, and executing a ruthless remove, rinse, touchless dry, and re-moisturize protocol the second you get out, you can outsmart the environment.
You move from being a victim of the environment to actively managing it.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for how we navigate the world? I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. We've just spent this entire deep dive deconstructing how creating a simple, physical ointment barrier can completely neutralize the aggressive, alkaline chemicals of a swimming pool.
Ah,
If adopting this proactive shielding mindset works so flawlessly in such a hostile environment, how might it revolutionize the way you prep for other daily triggers?
that's a great point.
Think about the friction of a long, sweaty summer hike or sitting on the abrasive sand at the beach. If you understand the biology of building the armor before you enter the environment, the minefield suddenly turns back into a playground. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.